Seeing Angel completely morph into Sergeant Dokes was not on my bingo card, but man, does it make for some great television. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. The fourth episode of Dexter Resurrection is here. It is called Call Me Red. And I'm not trying to be a prisoner of the moment, not trying to live in hyperbole, but this might be one of the best episodes of television that I've seen in quite some time. For sure, one of the best episodes of anything Dexter related that I've seen in a very, very long time. There's a lot to chew on with this episode. We get introduced to a whole new world, characters, the grip that Angel sort of tightening on the Morgans in this episode is getting tighter. It's all sort of coming together where, as good as I thought Dexter Origins is, and I do think that's still a good show, because it was a prequel, there's a lot of things that put Dexter in peril that just did not feel um, that intense because you knew the outcome. Whereas here, we don't know what's on the other end of this for Dexter Morgan or Harrison Morgan. And so, yeah, it is. It is nail bitingly intense as we get along. And Angel is that little pepper of dokes in this iteration that makes it all that just more interesting to see where it all ends up. We start off this episode with Dexter completely conforming and morphing himself into Roland Schmidt, aka Red. Um, what's been great about this series is that we're getting a lot back to the basics of Dexter from the first original series, where Harry is there as this manifestation of the inner id and the back and forth, the good angel and bad angel between Dexter and Harry. And we're seeing as a viewer Dexter go through the process of the pros and cons of doing what he's about to do. But he's doing it via Harry as sort of the person that's giving him this information back. And yeah, he is talking himself into going into this party for serial killers, this, as he called it, this all you can eat buffet for the dark passenger, because he's like, well, cool, I can probably wipe off a bunch of people off my board and satiate a lot of appetite that I might have in one full stop. Let me at least go see what this party is. And he can do so because Roland, luckily for him, had no online presence. Now that might feel a little bit convenient for the storyline, but I'm willing to buy it because of the type of person that Roland was. He's very off the grid, kind of like Dexter was originally. So yeah, there's no photos online of him. There's nobody who really knows what he looked like. So for all intents and purposes, Dexter could be Roland. And so he does the do-it-yourself fingerprint. And he puts that on, and he heads off to meet Charlie for the pickup for the party. Dex meets up with Charlie, and I guess passes sort of the first test because she's like Roland Schmidt, and he's like, "Call me Red," which, if she's done her homework and read the dossier, she knows that that's what he likes to be called by. He gets in the car after a little bit of funny business, and makes his way over to the building where he's going to meet Charlie's boss. In this call, Dexter is trying to fish a little bit to be like, "Hey, Charlie, how did you know that I was a serial killer? Because if Roland is as off the grid as everyone says he is, how was she able to find him?" And she's like, "Yeah, you were a difficult one. You were a hard one to get a hold of. Yeah, I don't have a single photo online." But she says she has her ways. And she's like, it took her about 3 weeks to do so, where Dex is like, cool, that lets me know about what you're using, how much information you have. Because for Dex, it took him 3 days to find Roland. So he's like, I got the one up on you. While that's happening, Harrison gets a call from the watch repair shop to let him know that the watch that he put in was ready. It's the watch that Ryan Foster had him put into repair before, he brutally murdered him. And so now he's having like this sort of ticking clock going on in his head. It's like the world's closing in around him because of this watch. Represents sort of a lasting heartbeat of Ryan Foster. So one thing that he didn't remove from everything. And so I knew that this watch was going to come back. I didn't think it was going to play basically like this almost Macbeth sort of form like my the blood is on my hands, taking watch thing that's happening for him. But it works. I still do think it's going to come into play when uh, the detectives get back on his scent. So this is when this episode gets nutty. Dex goes to meet the person responsible for this party, and is played by Peter Dinklage, who is playing a gentleman named Leon Prater. And Leon is a venture capitalist who has a ton of money to just waste and spare. He has got money coming from the highest of highs. There's nothing that he can't buy. And it's interesting to see what happens in a world where a person who has as much money as this person does, just bleeding out money, um, if they also have a hobby or a habit or voyeurism for serial killers, what does that look like? And we see full stop that it is nuts. So Dex arrives and has to use the fingerprint. Doesn't work a couple of times, but he eventually gets it through. He meets Leon, and Leon's like, "Hey, before the rest of the folks get into a party, since you are the first time here, I'd like to get a little bit more information with you and just have a one-on-one with you before the party gets too big." And so he takes Dex as Roland. He takes Dex and takes him through this back passageway that has a shrine and memorabilia of just whatever serial killer you think that exists. It has some type of trophy from him. It has John Wayne Gacy's clown suit. It has the fridge from Dahmer's situation, and from all of his the food, quote unquote, that he had. Anything you can think of, it exists in this room, including some of the greatest hits of Dexter's past. It has the Trinity Killer's hammer, Arthur Miller. They have a Dexter's doing everything he possibly can to sort of not show any sort of connection to this, because he's not Dexter in this moment. He's not the Bay Harbor Butcher. He is Red, Roland Schmidt. Which, speaking of Bay Harbor Butcher, the slides that Dexter used to carry way back in the first couple of seasons, they are present there. And Dex just habitually just runs his finger across them, to which Leon's like, "Don't touch things." But it's just habit. It's instinctual for him. And Dex is kind of just like, how do you have all of this stuff? He has the contraption that his brother died in, the ice truck killer. He has that there. Everything that you can think of somewhere exists in this world. And so he has gone at great lengths to find and procure all of these things. He says that he prides himself on finding the best of the best in every field. He wants that the best thing he can. And so for him, he is trying to find that in death. And so he wants to have these sort of pieces to see what makes people do these things, how they go about it, the inner workings of a serial killer. He wants to know how it all ticks. He asked, did Roland bring a trophy for him, because he has a spot for the dark passenger there, even with the ID. And he pulls out an ID marked from Roland's stash, and it's the first kill, which Leon is acutely aware of. It's like, "Oh, you're giving me your first kill. This means something to me," and sort of that bond grows there. And Dex just quickly asks a question, which is a fair question to ask. It's like, well, if you have all of this for some of these folks are active serial killers. This is evidence to them. Does any of the serial killers that you invite to these get worried that this stuff could end up in the wrong hands? And Leon's like, no, I'm not concerned, because we're behind walls thick of limestone that is behind the security keypad. The second that somebody puts in an incorrect code once, alarm goes off, massive alarm goes off. Charlie comes down at gunpoint, and security is on their way in. So there's really no way to get into this vault without him. And so their secrets are safe with him. He wants them to feel entrusted to him. He wants them to feel like this is a safe space where you can talk to other serial killers without being judged, without being um, felt to feel like you are different than anyone else, which there are then realize that there's a set of rules that come along with that. Then you know damn well Dexter is planning to break every single one of them. But then we start meeting the guests, which is a who's who of actors and whatnot playing playing these parts. But first, we meet Mia, who is known as Lady Vengeance. She is a killer who seemingly only kills sexual predators. And we learn a little bit more about that later and her history with that. But um, that going after quote unquote bad folks piques Dex interest because he feels like, oh, that's a like-minded person. Like, I wonder if she has a code like I have a code. I'd like to find out more about her. It doesn't also hurt that it's played by Kristen Ritter, who is a very attractive woman. So Dex is not only intrigued on a personal level, there is some immediate chemistry that starts occurring between the two of them. And then the next guest that arrives is Al, who we see a bunch of ponytails that are caught, that are taken and kept in the shrine room from Leon. But he's the ponytail guy, and he is played by Eric Stonestreet from Modern Family, which is hilarious in that you get this what appears to be a typical white fence, picket fence father who has a family, he has a kid, checks clocks all that. Oh, he has a family. He's living his life. He is doing what he can't do with Harrison. Um, but is underneath is a serial killer. It's a killer. It's going to be interesting to see what it is that he does, how he goes about his business, and how he goes about his killing, and how he chooses his people. Because I feel like it's going to be very haunting because he has a very good way of disarming people because he seems so not of that ilk. But he is very much happy here to be here because this feels like a place where they can all belong. The next person that shows up is Neil Patrick Harris playing Lowell, who is known as the tattoo guy. In that shrine, we saw a couple of basically grafts or pieces of skin that have been ripped off of people's bodies that have tattoo or inks on them. And that's sort of his his shtick. His thing is to um, go after people who have newly pieces of ink. He wants the ink. If it's a good piece of art, he wants that and he cuts it off. And there doesn't really seem to be a rhyme or reason. He's not doing it like to where he or Mia have sort of a code where they go after the bad people. He's just out here killing people because they got a tattoo. And that immediately ticks off Dex. Dex is like, yeah, you've just gone up to the top of my list of people that I absolutely need to kill and put on my table. And then the last person that shows up is named Gareth. He's called the Gemini Killer. He's played, I can't pronounce his last name, but it's David D, who was in The Suicide Squad, the second one, not the bad one. And then Night with the Devil, he was the lead in that most recently. So you would recognize him when you see him. And he comes off immediately as if, of all the people in this room, he looks the most a part of being a serial killer. Like if you saw him walking around, you'd be like, yeah, that boy is a serial killer. And so this is the misfits that we sort of have brought into this party, into this thing, and they all converge and sort of come together. And you can see that Dex feels a little bit at home here. Like he feels like I don't really want to kill these people because they all feel like me. Like there's a version of me in all of them. And so we get a moment where he has to go to the side and sort of have tit for tat with Harry, his other side, and be like, hey, you have a goal here. Your goal is you need to kill all of these people. Don't get close to them. Don't become one with them. Don't become happy with them. Remember the plan. Leon then calls them in all for dinner, and they are prepped to go eat this massive and lavish meal that they have for him. As they sit down, there's a chair that is empty, and so it is a person named Keith, who we saw in a couple episodes ago. Charlie took out. It's the clever guy, and they all sort of just gloss over the fact that they're like, yeah, he's not coming, and they all know what that means, but they all kind of just move on because there is a considerable amount of money that is flowing through these serial killers' hands at this point, and as long as that money stops, they will ignore any and everything that occurs. Be damned of what it means to them. And a funny bit, Dex sadly has to continue the ruse of of Roland, in that Roland is a vegetarian. Charlie caught that because in the room where she put the invitation at, she caught a bunch of vegetarian books and vegetarian cookbooks. And so while everybody else are meeting these massive tomahawk steaks and this just great luscious looking meat and all this stuff, um, Dex is not. And he has to keep up the charade of Roland eating all that vegetarian mess. Oh, Dex. Not only can his appetite not be satiated in bloodlust, He can't even eat his meat that we know that Dex loves to eat. Back with Harrison, Harrison grabs the watch and makes his way back to the hotel. Now, earlier in the episode, Angel located the person who had the truck, and then learns that Harrison Morgan is alive. And so he puts two and two together, and he's waiting in the lobby here when Harrison returns. And Angel goes to introduce himself to Harrison. Harrison doesn't really know him, doesn't remember him, but he connects by saying, "Hey, my sister used to watch you when you were little." And she's like, "Oh my God, your sister Jamie? Jesus." For my Dex fans, you'll remember this all this stuff. And she's like, "Yeah, I love Jamie. How's she doing?" She's like, "Oh, she's great. She's got a job. She's a teacher now, blah, blah, blah." And so that gives them a little bit of a way in to sort of disarm Harrison a little bit. See, at this point, just doesn't really know why Angel would be here. Angel's like, "Cool, can you come have a chat with me for a moment?" So the two of them sit down, and as they begin to talk, um, Angel's leading him down one way, and Harrison kind of like, "Okay, cool." Talks to him like, "Yeah, I gave you a red train set." He's like, "Oh, I love that red set." Cool. While we're talking, I've been following your dad, and your dad was an iron, was where he was, and he was shot. And then Harrison's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, you missed him. He's dead." And Angel lets him believe that he's dead. He's like, "I'm not going to change that because that might give me a little bit more ways in to talk to you if you feel like he's off the table." He's like, "Well, I heard you were also in Ireland." It's like, "Why did you split so fast?" He's like, "Yeah, it turns out that Dexter, my dad, wasn't the person that I thought he was." And Angel's like, "Yeah, I've had that same thing." So, "Oh, your dad didn't feel the same way?" He's like, "No, I'm talking about Dexter. Dexter's not the person I thought he was." And Harrison's like, "Okay, what is this?" And it's at that point that Angel lays on them, "Hey, there's something that's stuck in my craw for years. My wife, Maria, told me that uh, she believed that Dexter Morgan was the Bay Harbor Butcher, which I just couldn't shake out of my head. It's just been there this whole time." He's like, "Look, you know him well. If he's not the person you say he is, then there might be some, you may know and have some awareness of this. Your dad's gone now. There's nothing you can say that's going to hurt him or harm him. Do you know anything? Are you aware?" She's trying to fish information from Harrison. And what I will say that is G'd up about Harrison in this moment is that as bad as he feels towards his dad, as much as he does, like, I don't rock with this dude, I'm not also throwing him under the bus. Now, some of this may be self-preservation in that if he brings it up, immediately it's going to get tied back to him about what just happened to Mr. Foster. But he is at this point like, "Nah, you're not getting nothing from me. Like, I'm done with this conversation." At the party for the killers, dinner for schmucks, if you will, Mia and Dex connect a little bit more than anybody else that they're really having at this party. And Dex is kind of just like, "What is all of this? Like, why does this exist? Like, what's the point of all of this?" And Mia was like, "Not here. You and I, we can chat a little bit more outside of these walls, but let's not have that convo here." And Leon gives them all phones that they can communicate with each other. If they want to have meetups and texts and groups, they can all chat with each other, but also sort of have a way to track them. And so I would imagine that Dex was, but he doesn't seem to be that aware of that. That's what that mechanic that is. Like, yeah, you can text each other, but I'm also tracking you guys. But in that moment, he sets up a meet. He gets out of the party. Everybody goes about their separate ways, goes to enjoy their night. He immediately grabs two hot dogs because, I got to eat some meat. And then he sets up a meet with Mia for the next day in Central Park to have a jog. Harrison is sort of having that more Big Beth moment. The watch is ticking. Anything he sees, he hears it ticking. He's ticking. With that and sort of Angel twisting the screws a little bit into him, he can't get out of his own head. And so he needs to have a friend that he can go meet with and hang with. So he ends up leaving the hotel and going to Elsa's place. And Elsa seems to be the only person that he can just be himself. He can be jovial. He'd have a good time. But then he sort of messes that up because, like Dexter, he can't really read communications or emotions or whatnot. And Elsa's just being a really good friend to him. Um, but he makes a pass at Elsa, and Elsa sort of rebuffs it and sets Harrison off. Like, "Oh my God, I'm so stupid. I can't do anything right." And he just runs out of there. And Elsa's like, "No, I understand. Like, get it. You can still stay here." She's She doesn't want to throw it out the window, but he is too embarrassed by what just occurred, and he gets the hell out of Dodge. So now he feels even more isolated and alone. Dex, in his back and forth with his inner Harry, feel that he needs to wait till all of these meetings with these dinner for schmucks, these dinner with serial killers occurs before he just starts taking these people off one by one. It's going to be a lot more obvious if the new guy comes and all of a sudden these people start dying. Leon plans to have like a cluster of parties in the next couple of weeks to sort of have these get-togethers, and so Dex is like, "Let me hold off. Let me get ingratiated with everybody, and then we will do what we have to do." However, Lowell's satiation, he sort of has presented at the party a mark that he has that's getting this last piece of ink done that could speed up that process. Dex knows that, all right, he's the one wild card that I might have to take him out before he can hurt anybody else. But he also, because he doesn't want to like take him all off the board and kind of bring the notice to him as to who's doing all these killings, that's one piece of it. But he also selfishly, he kind of likes this camaraderie that he can have with people that are like-minded like him. Like, he doesn't have anybody else that really like him in this. Even Harry, back when Harry was alive and actually giving him honest notes, didn't respond to him in this way. Harrison doesn't want to be with him. So he now actually has some people that he can communicate with. And so he may not want to rush to murdering them all because there's some like-minded stuff happening between the five of them. So Dex meets up with Mia. They do their jog, and he's asking a operator. He's like, "What's the catch? Like, he's just giving us money. There has to be some type of a catch to all of this." And Mia's like, "Look, the money just flows. I don't ask as many questions, but like, as long as you don't break his rules, the money comes in." And Dex like, "Well, Keith, did he break the rules?" I was like, "Yeah, he did, and that's why he's not here anymore." Dex also asks, like, "Do you think Leon is like us? Like, is he a killer like this?" And she's like, "Nah, I don't. I honestly think he's just a voyeur. Like, he just likes to watch. He just in it. He has the money to burn, and this is something that just actually interests him. So he's just willing to spend whatever it is to make it a part of his world, a part of his life." And then we start learning a little bit more about Mia herself, and it says that she was her born day, as far as her killing side of it, was born in by her mom's new boyfriend was around the house, and he was looking at her very uncomfortably, and so she got out of there and was like, "Look, I'm going to focus some of my dark stuff that I have towards ballet, which is a very focused and regimented and painful art." And she's like, I can put myself in that." She also had a younger sister, and she's like, "Look, I left thinking that my younger sister was too young and off the radar for this man to do anything to her. And so if I'm off the board and she's too young, we should be fine." I come back from summer after ballet and learn that unfortunately my sister was not too young and that he did have his way with her. And so, yeah, I killed him, and it was one of the greatest things that I've ever done. So that's where her stuff was born out of. They have more connections. They talk about, a little bit more of the urge and the passion that they have for this. And then she offers to take him back home. And like, she is throwing it out there at him. She's like, "Look, come back to my place for some pastries." He's like, "I like pastries." Unfortunately for him, that vegetarian thing is still following him. And so she gets him some vegan pastries with kale, and it looks like hell. Poor Dex. He's going to have to, man, I can't wait till he starts being able to eat a steak in front of these folks. She then makes a pass at him like, "Look, I'm about to go take a shower. And then there's an espresso machine in the kitchen if you want to go make yourself a coffee." And then she goes into the shower, but leaves the bathroom door open and changes it, like gets undressed in front of him. And Dex is like, "Oh, well, yeah, like this is some." He has a thing for women who like to kill too. If you watched any of the previous Dexter, this is sort of his jam. Um, and he's about to make his move in there, but then his hairy side comes in and talks to him like, "Do you think this is a good idea? Like, really? There's a code. This ain't a part of the code at all. You need to get up out of here." And he's like, "Shoot, that would be a good time." Which, I'm not gonna lie to you. Granted, she's a serial killer, but if you're also a serial killer, if there's someone that looks like Christian Ritter that is saying, "Hey, just come get in the shower with me," Dex, you have a lot of self control. Kudos to you, sir. Kudos. And so he just bounces, and then you can hear me like, "Wait, what? You're leave? Oh, okay. But it works out actually because then he goes to go meet with Lowell, who now is in a rush. Lowell's like, look, I was going to have a convo with you. We are going to have a tit for tat, but turns out that my mark, she got a bigger pain threshold than I thought, and she's getting her entire arm finished tonight. So today's the day. I'm about to get into work. So I know we said we're going to talk, but if you don't mind, this is something I'd rather do on my own. And Dex like, nope, I get it. Perfectly understandable. So Dex leaves, and there's like, well, crap. I don't have any of my stuff. Like he looks to try to check to see how far it would be to get from where he is back to where he needs to get his kit, to get his stuff so he can make his move on Lowell. And it's too far. It's like 2 hours away. He's like, oh crap, how the hell am I going to do this? One of the only times that we see Detective Wallace and the detectives in this episode is that she's at her desk and she's not letting, like I said, she's not letting this Harrison thing go. She's looking, she's got her headphones on, she's just watching stuff. She's like, something about this isn't right. Like living at the hotel is an alibi, but it's not a good enough reason to just rule out Harrison. And so she's trying to comb over things, going over piece after piece. And look, they both agree that they don't believe that Harrison, at his age, is capable of doing something so sophisticated. Like he's a little too young and naive to be as detail oriented as he is. Now they don't have the missing piece of who may have taught him this, but they're just like something doesn't add up, and they're just trying to realize what that is. Enter Angel. Angel comes to the two of them and is like, "Look, I feel like the 9-piece body that you just got is very similar to some stuff that I dealt with in Miami. So I think you and I, we'd have some things to discuss." And so they go to have their conversations. Lowell is on the prowl. The tattoo serial killer is on his way to doing his thing. And then Dex uses his knockout gas that he uses because he's an anesthesiologist. He uses what he has on him because he can't go to his own kit. And then he uses the tattoo parlor as this setup for his kill room and his kill table. He says the tattoo parlor wound up having everything that I needed. And then what I didn't have, turns out that the tattoo killer, he had them in there, so I can use his own stuff against him. But then he brings them to two, and he's like, "Oh, come on, you're gonna f up Prater's rules on the very first day like this. This is you're doing this." Which lets me know that one of the rules, and it makes sense why this would be the case, because you're not supposed to judge the other serial killers, but it's clear that one of the rules is you guys can't go after each other. Like that should be a clear rule. Like you guys need to leave each other off the board. And so I feel like Mia would have killed the tattoo. She'd find some icky. She would have killed him a long time ago if it weren't for the money flow. And so that was one of the rules, and Dex is immediately effing that up. But we see the Dex return to the basics. There's a lot of returning to the basics in day one in this series for Dexter. But he collects a blood slide um, from Lowell, and it's funny. The second he slices cheek, I was like, is he about to do it? He is. He got his slides back, and so he's collecting slides again. Whether or not that comes back to bite him, because that's attached to the Bay Harbor Butcher, which is in that room, who knows? But he's returning to form, his true form. The Bay Harbor Butcher piece is coming full circle, and Angel is acting as the dopes of it all that existed in those first two seasons. But Dex comes clean. He's like, "Look, I'm not rolling. I'm Dexter Morgan." And Lowell's kind of like, "What should that mean anything to me?" And then he's like, "I'm the Bay Harbor Butcher," and then he stabs him. And right before that, and between that split second between saying I'm the Bay Harbor Butcher and getting stabbed, you can see complete fear come over Lowell, because he's like, "Oh crap! Oh, oh no! Oh, I'm 9 pieces." Dex does his thing, chops him up, burns him up, does his thing. But he's talking back and forth with the other Harry. Harry says, "You need to figure something out immediately, because you just took this person off the board, and you need to figure out something about the Prater situation, because you are going to be suspect number one, as you're the new person in this. They've had these meetings before with all of these folks before, and nothing has happened to Lowell. So if this is occurring now, you are going to be prime suspect number one. You need to have your ish together." They also have some communications about how Dex feels at one with these folks. And he says like he doesn't feel scared often, but he does feel scared thinking about Harrison rebuffing him or rejecting him. That's why he hasn't sort of made the move to let himself be seen or be known to Harrison, because he doesn't want the rejection. It's like, I've gone through a lot of stuff. I can take a lot of pain, but that's the one thing that I don't know if I would be okay with, which is a fair thing to hear. Angel meets up with Harrison again after his conversations with the detectives. He comes back to have another convo with Harrison. And he says, I got a little bit more info now. I learned that the guest that's here, Ryan Foster, died in the same manner that a lot of the people that the Bay Harbor Butcher did died in. And he is essentially alluding to the fact that he knows that Harrison probably did this, and that his dad taught him that method. And he says, like, look, I didn't drop a dime on you yet in regards to your the connection to your dad and the Bay Harbor, but what I think is the Bay Harbor Butcher to you. I didn't give them that yet. I'm just looking for confirmation before I get to that point. And he is kind of letting Harrison off the hook a little bit. He's like, look, Ryan Foster was a piece of shit. I understand that. I don't care. I get why you did what you did. Your dad probably taught you or told you that he was doing the same thing, that he only took off the bad guys, the bad criminals. But there's a lot of innocent people that died in his wake, that were killed by him in his wake. It's like my wife, your Aunt Deb, your mother. Now, it's interesting that we as an audience know that all of those had a scenario that Dex wasn't the person who was at the hand of the death of all of them. He had a hand in it. He was probably the wake of it, but Deb shot Maria. His Harrison's mother was killed by the Trinity Killer. So all of these things, yes, overall, Angel's not wrong. There are people that have died innocently at the hands of Dex because he's trying to keep himself clean. But for the most part, that code is the place, and he gets rid of the bodies of people that have been killed or harmed anyway. But even Dokes is taken off the board, not by himself. He just leaves Dokes there to be captured. And I feel like, had things not gone the way and a crazy woman didn't just set the whole place on fire, Dokes probably would have gotten the better of Dex in that moment. And so Angel is going by like, I'm trying to get to you, that like, your dad's not as good as he may have set this code up for you to be. So give me who he is. Give me that information. Give me what it is that I want. And then Harrison hits him back. It's like, sounds like you went down a conspiratorial rabbit hole, Angel. And in that, you can see it's such a great, just quiet moment, but the look on Angel's face is that of heartbreak. Like his heart broke for Harrison because he can see that it's already too late. Like his dad has gotten to him more than he can get to him, and there's nothing that he can really do in this moment to sort of help Harrison. He just tells him, like, this is a dark path that you're going down, and I hope you don't become like your dad. Harrison skips out of there, but you can tell this is very much Lady Macbeth weighing on him. He is just having a hard time with it all, to the point where he makes a call to Detective Wallace. He calls her and it goes to voicemail, and he doesn't leave a voicemail. He hangs up, and then he decides to go straight to the precinct because he's about to turn himself in. And then Dexter comes out and grabs him and stops him, and he turns around and says, "Dad," and that's how the episode ends. Jesus, a lot happens in this episode. This is an intense episode. You can see that Dex was not willing or ready to lose his son. Um, um, and he knows that if he goes into that precinct and gives himself up, that's it for him. And so this is his moment to sort of save him. I do think with that, when this is all said and done, I don't know how we get there. I don't know the road that happens. Who knows how this whole Leon and his cabal of serial killers sort of affects all of this, but I do feel like Dex is eventually going to take the responsibility of what happened to Ryan Foster as the Bay Harbor Butcher. He's going to come back out and say, I'm the Bay Harbor Butcher. Now, whether or not he gets arrested or ends up having to be on the run, but he's going to clear Harrison's name in some form or fashion so that he doesn't have to take on that burden, of being the Bay Harbor Butcher or having that sit with him. Now, what that does for Harrison, whether or not he goes and reconvenes and comes up with a different way to kill people, that passenger's in there for him. He's already, that door's been open. He's going to want to kill again. But it's going to be interesting to see what that next episode holds for the two of them and how he reacts to his dad being alive. Angel is like a dog on a bone. He is not letting this go. And I think as intense as he is on this and with the information that he has, as he feeds this to Detective Wallace, she's going to put things together immediately. And yeah, that noose on them is going to get tighter and tighter. And then you add on Charlie, crazy ass with Leon and all of those folks. I am also curious to see how Mia responds to Dex when he finally does reveal who he truly is. Um, because I think the money for her seems to be so important, and money is important for all of them, that they may not respond, or she may not respond to Dex in the way that I think he thinks their camaraderie would, because of the code that she quote unquote has. Money, I feel like, is going to supersede the code that Dex believes she has. But yeah, look, this is some great writing. Like, they are knocking this out of the park. I have not been this excited. Origins had me excited to come back to watch every episode of Dexter Origins, but not in the way that, like, I don't know what's happening next, and I am just like foaming at the mouth to get to the next episode and ready to see what we're going to get next. What did you guys think about this fourth episode of Dexter Resurrection called Call Me Red? You'll leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on X at Hollywood ADI. You can hit us up on email at hollywoodalreadydidit@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the place podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.